Welcome to Heart and Hustle, where love meets mindset. I'm Courtney Ryan, and I'm here to help you level up your heart, your hustle, and your life. Today, I want to talk about something that might seem subtle, but it's actually incredibly powerful once you know how to recognize it. Attraction isn't always loud, obvious, or dramatic. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's hidden in the tiniest details of someone's body language. And here's the truth. If she's really attracted to you, she will almost always reveal it without even realizing it. Her body will speak before her words ever do. And one of the clearest signs of this attraction is when she touches a very specific part of herself. Now, I don't mean this in some dramatic, over-sexualized way. I mean it in the most human, natural sense of the word. When we're attracted to someone, our body gives us away. It's biological, it's emotional, it's psychological, and it's almost impossible to hide because it's literally wired into us as human beings. I want you to think about a time when you were around someone you were deeply attracted to. Maybe your heart was racing. Maybe you felt nervous. Maybe you found yourself adjusting your clothes, smoothing your hair, or fidgeting without even realizing it. That's not random. That's your body showing what your mind and heart are already feeling. And women are the exact same way. Attraction often shows through subconscious body language, not words. This is something so many people overlook because we live in a world that tells us to listen to what people say, to focus on the words, the conversations, the declarations, the statements, and yet the truth is the body rarely lies. When someone is drawn to you, when there's a spark, a connection, an underlying pull, it often comes out in ways they don't even realize. Their hands might fidget, their posture might shift, their eyes might linger a little longer than usual. These tiny, almost imperceptible signals are the real language of attraction. And they exist below the surface of conscious thought. They are the whispers of desire, the subtle hints that someone is feeling something deeper than just friendship or politeness. And they are all around us if we learn to pay attention. Think about it, our bodies are wired to respond to stimuli long before our minds even catch up. There's a part of our nervous system, the autonomic nervous system, that governs these automatic reactions. It's why your heart might skip a beat when you see someone you're drawn to, why your stomach might feel that fluttering excitement, why your muscles might tense up or relax without your conscious input. And when a woman is attracted to someone, her body will mirror these responses, often without her even realizing it. She might play with her hair, adjust her clothing, shift her weight slightly forward, or unconsciously touch her face or neck. These movements are subtle, but they are deeply telling, and they are much more reliable than words, which can be rehearsed, masked, or even misleading. One of the most fascinating aspects of this is how universal it is. Across cultures, ages, across personalities, the body communicates attraction in ways that are often startlingly consistent. While the specific gestures might vary, the underlying principle is always the same. Our bodies reveal our desires, sometimes before our minds even acknowledge them. This is why learning to read body language is so transformative, not just in dating or romance, but in all human interaction. It allows you to see the truth behind the mask, to notice what people are feeling rather than simply hearing what they are saying, and to respond in a way that is authentic, compassionate, and deeply connected. It's also important to recognize that this isn't about manipulation or playing games. It's not about trying to trick someone into revealing something they don't want to. It's about awareness. It's about learning to be present enough to notice the tiny signals that tell you someone is feeling something toward you. It's about cultivating an emotional intelligence that goes beyond words, a sensitivity to the nuances of human behavior, a mindfulness of the rhythms and subtleties of interaction. When you do this, you start to notice patterns that others completely miss. You begin to see the way someone's eyes light up when they look at you, the slight tilt of their head when they are listening, the small gestures that communicate attraction without a single word being spoken. What's also incredible is that this knowledge empowers you to be more authentic yourself. When you understand that attraction is shown through subconscious signals, you stop overthinking what you should say or do. You begin to trust the natural flow of connection. You begin to see that the energy between two people is a dance, a series of subtle movements, shifts, and responses, and that words are just one part of the conversation. You start to feel more confident because you realize that what you see in another person's body language is a reflection of their genuine emotions, and that authenticity is far more magnetic than anything rehearsed or forced. Subconscious body language also teaches patience. It reminds you that attraction doesn't have to be loud or immediate. Sometimes it's in the quiet, almost invisible cues, the way someone leans slightly closer when you speak, the micro smile that appears when they catch your gaze, the delicate, fleeting gestures that signal interest and comfort. When you pay attention to these signals, you start to notice the depth and richness of human connection that often goes unnoticed. You start to understand that attraction is a process, a gradual unfolding, a series of moments that build into something real and meaningful. And that noticing these moments is not just about reading signs, but about honoring the humanity and vulnerability of the person in front of you. This awareness also changes the way you approach relationships. It shifts your focus from surface level words to the deeper language of the body, from trying to impress or perform to simply noticing, observing, and responding. It allows you to connect on a level that feels intimate, real, and alive because you are engaging with someone as they truly are, not just as they tell you they are. And it reminds you that attraction is not something you force, but something you recognize, something you witness, something you respond to with presence and awareness. The neck is one of the clearest, most vulnerable indicators of female attraction, and it's something that often goes unnoticed by most people. It's fascinating because the neck is a part of the body that is naturally exposed, delicate, and incredibly expressive, yet it's subtle enough that a lot of people miss the signals it gives. When a woman is attracted to someone, the way she touches or positions her neck can speak volumes without her ever saying a word. This is one of those subconscious gestures that reveals desire, interest, and emotional openness, and it's completely natural. It's her body showing a vulnerability that she might not even realize she's displaying, and it's one of the most authentic signs of connection. When someone touches their neck, it's not just a random movement. It's a gesture that originates from deep within the body, from an instinctive place of vulnerability and attraction. The neck houses key points of sensitivity from the delicate skin to the pulse points, and it's one of the few areas where the body naturally signals emotional openness. When a woman touches her neck, whether it's brushing her hair back, tracing her collarbone, or lightly caressing the side of her neck, she is unconsciously signaling comfort, interest, and a willingness to be seen. These movements are rarely deliberate, and that's exactly what makes them so genuine. They're instinctual, biological, and deeply human. It's important to understand why the neck is so powerful in communication. This area is tied to both the nervous system and emotional processing, which means that gestures here are more than just physical, they're emotional signals. When a woman is attracted, her body experiences a subtle increase in arousal, excitement, and nervous energy. Touching the neck can act as a self-soothing mechanism, calming the fluttering feelings while simultaneously revealing them. It's a paradoxical gesture, a mixture of vulnerability and desire, and it's exactly the kind of signal that is impossible to fake convincingly because it originates from an unconscious part of the mind. Another reason the neck is such a reliable indicator is that it is exposed yet intimate. Most people instinctively protect vulnerable areas of their body, yet the neck is often left open. By touching it, she is drawing attention to one of her most sensitive areas, which is a subconscious invitation to connect. It's a delicate way of saying, without words, that she feels drawn in, that she's comfortable with your presence, and that there is a level of emotional trust developing. When combined with other cues, eye contact, leaning in, subtle smiles, the gesture becomes even more powerful, confirming an authentic attraction that goes beyond surface-level interest. Think about the micro moments when someone does this naturally. She might tuck her hair behind her ear and let her fingers linger on her neck, or she might trace the line of her collarbone while listening to a conversation. These are not conscious decisions. They are instinctive, and they happen more often when there is an emotional or physical pull towards someone. When you notice this, it's a subtle form of communication that says, "I'm interested. I'm comfortable. I want to be near you." And the beauty of it is that it's subtle enough to feel organic, natural, and deeply personal rather than forced or performative. What makes this especially powerful is that most people are not trained to notice it. Most people are looking for overt signals, grand gestures, or verbal affirmations, and they miss the small, authentic cues that carry the most truth. When you pay attention to the neck, you're tuning into a language that is largely unconscious, one that communicates desire and vulnerability in ways that words cannot. You're witnessing something real, something primal, and something deeply human. This awareness allows you to engage more authentically, to connect more deeply, and to respond in a way that matches the emotional energy being shared without overanalyzing or overthinking. It also teaches patience and observation. Attraction is rarely instant or fully visible on the surface. It unfolds in these quiet, delicate gestures. When you see her touch her neck while maintaining eye contact, leaning in slightly, or smelling subtly, you are witnessing the earliest and most genuine stages of emotional connection. You are seeing desire communicated without a single word, and it's a language that is consistent across countless interactions. Recognizing this gesture is not about creating attraction, but about observing it, honoring it, and responding with presence and awareness. The subtlety of the neck touch also reminds us that attraction is complex and multidimensional. It's not just physical, it's emotional, psychological, and instinctual. It signals comfort, trust, curiosity, and openness all at once. By noticing it, you're not just decoding a behavior, you're tuning into the deeper currents of human emotion and desire, allowing yourself to connect on a level that is rare and profound. Touching the neck signals vulnerability, openness, and emotional excitement, And understanding this can completely shift the way you perceive connection and attraction. When a woman touches her neck, she is exposing a part of herself that is delicate, sensitive, and naturally vulnerable. This isn't a conscious choice, it's an instinctive gesture, a biological response that happens when her body feels drawn toward someone. In that moment, her body is speaking a language that words cannot fully capture. She is opening a door without even realizing it, revealing her comfort, her interest, and her willingness to let someone in. And when you recognize this, it's not about reading a single signal, it's about understanding the emotional depth behind it. The neck is more than just skin and muscle. It is a zone of vulnerability, closely connected to the nervous system, and it responds to emotional states in subtle but powerful ways. When someone feels excited, drawn, or emotionally engaged, their movements become slightly more fluid, more intentional, and more revealing. A woman might brush her hair back, run her fingers lightly along her collarbone, or tilt her head while her hand hovers near her neck. These gestures are a combination of comfort, seeking an attraction, signaling that she feels safe enough to show her vulnerability while simultaneously expressing her emotional excitement. It's an intricate dance between wanting to be seen and wanting to be drawn in, and it's a dance that is nearly impossible to fake convincingly. What makes this so profound is that vulnerability itself is magnetic. When someone exposes a part of themselves that is delicate or sensitive, it communicates trust, openness, and authenticity. In the context of attraction, this is incredibly powerful because it shows a willingness to connect on a deeper, emotional level. The neck touch becomes a silent message that says, without words, I feel something here, I am drawn to this connection, and because it happens unconsciously, it is often one of the most honest indicators of genuine attraction. Unlike scripted compliments or rehearsed gestures, the neck touch is raw, instinctive, and revealing in a way that can't be manufactured. Emotional excitement is also a huge part of this gesture. When someone is attracted, their body responds with subtle energy shifts. Her breathing might change slightly, her posture might lean toward the source of her interest, and her movements might become more fluid or rhythmic. Touching the neck in this context is both self-soothing and revealing, a paradoxical blend of calm and arousal that communicates interest without the need for words. It's a signal that she is emotionally engaged and that the connection feels meaningful. Even if it's just in these small, fleeting moments, it's important to notice the patterns here. One fleeting touch might not mean much, but when combined with other signs of engagement, prolonged eye contact, gentle smiles, leaning in during conversation, mirroring gestures, the neck touch becomes part of a larger, consistent cluster of cues. It's in the repetition and combination that the true message emerges. This is what makes it so powerful. It's not about guessing. It's about observing, noticing, and honoring the signals that reveal genuine attraction and emotional openness. Recognizing vulnerability in someone else also teaches us to be present. When you see her touch her neck, it's an invitation to slow down, to notice the subtle energy in the room, and to respond in kind. It encourages mindfulness, empathy, and attentiveness, allowing you to connect on a deeper level. Instead of rushing or overanalyzing, you can simply observe, respond naturally, and allow the connection to deepen organically. The beauty of this is that it cultivates authentic interaction because the gestures themselves are honest, instinctive, and human. The neck touch is also a reminder that attraction is as much about emotional resonance as it is about physical desire. When a woman unconsciously exposes this vulnerable area, she is signaling more than just physical interest. She is communicating curiosity, trust, and a willingness to engage emotionally. It is a form of nonverbal intimacy, a subtle yet profound way of expressing her feelings without relying on words, explanations, or declarations. And noticing this gesture gives you the opportunity to respond in a way that honors that openness, deepens the connection, and allows the relationship, whether romantic, friendly, or otherwise, to unfold with authenticity and presence. Understanding the emotional significance behind the neck touch shifts your perspective entirely. It shows you that attraction isn't just about appearance, charm, or conversation skills. It's about energy, vulnerability, and emotional resonance. It's about recognizing the signals that reveal someone's interest, understanding what they mean, and responding in a way that honors both their feelings and your own awareness. This is the kind of insight that transforms interactions, builds deeper connections, and allows relationships to grow from a place of authenticity. Rather than surface level performance, look for patterns and clusters of behaviors, not just one isolated gesture, because attraction rarely announces itself in a single movement. It's subtle. It's layered, and it unfolds over time. A single touch of the neck might happen for countless reasons. She might be adjusting her hair, scratching an itch, or feeling a little nervous. On its own, it doesn't tell the full story. But when that gesture occurs alongside other signs, leaning in during conversation, maintaining steady eye contact, mirroring movements, laughing at your jokes in a way that feels warm and genuine, that's when the picture becomes clear. The human body is constantly communicating on multiple levels, and attraction is often revealed in these patterns, in the way gestures, expressions, and postures repeat and cluster together to create a language that is instinctive, unconscious, And profoundly honest, observing patterns requires presence and attention. You can't just glance once and make a judgment. You have to truly notice, to slow down, and to witness how she behaves in a series of moments. It's in these repeated behaviors that the truth shows itself. For example, if she touches her neck while smiling softly, leaning forward, and keeping her body oriented toward you, the combination of cues is far more meaningful than any one action by itself. It tells you that she's engaged, interested, and comfortable, and that her body is aligning with her emotions in a way that is authentic and instinctive. Learning to see these clusters of behavior is like learning a new language. It takes observation, patience, and sensitivity, but once you understand it, you can read the signals with clarity and confidence. Patterns also reveal consistency, which is key in understanding attraction. One-off gestures are easy to misinterpret, but when you see similar behaviors repeated over time, you can start to feel the underlying energy. Maybe she brushes her hair back toward her neck multiple times during your conversation, or perhaps she leans in repeatedly when you speak, her attention unwavering. These repetitions are not coincidences, they are signals from her body and her emotions that reveal genuine interest. Attraction is rarely a single explosive moment, it's an accumulation of small, consistent signals that, when recognized, paint a vivid picture of how she feels. Another element of these clusters is context. A gesture can carry different meanings depending on the situation, her mood, and the dynamic between you. Touching the neck while she's relaxed and engaged carries a very different weight than doing it when she's distracted, anxious, or preoccupied. That's why observing patterns is so important. It allows you to see how her behavior shifts in different contexts and gives you a more accurate understanding of her attraction. It's about noticing consistency in her interest, noticing how her body responds when she's engaged with you versus when she's simply interacting with others, and recognizing the energy that accompanies these gestures. Clusters of behavior also extend beyond physical gestures. Tone of voice, laughter, pacing of speech, and the way she orients her body all contribute to the pattern. When these cues align with the physical gestures, the neck touches, the leaning in, the eye contact, it amplifies the signal, making her attraction unmistakable. It's a symphony of subtle, interconnected signs, each one reinforcing the other, creating a narrative that is far more reliable than words alone. Paying attention to these patterns teaches you to see the full spectrum of communication, to read the emotional and instinctive cues that reveal what someone is truly feeling beneath the surface. Understanding these clusters also helps you respond appropriately. Instead of overreacting to a single gesture or second-guessing a one-time signal, you can calibrate your awareness to the flow of her behavior. You learn to trust the patterns, to recognize when attraction is genuine, and to engage in a way that is aligned with the emotional energy she is sending. This is the difference between guessing and truly knowing, between uncertainty and clarity. Patterns give you confidence because they are grounded in repeated, authentic behavior rather than fleeting or superficial actions. And the beauty of noticing clusters is that it transforms how you experience connection. You start to see people as multidimensional, dynamic beings whose emotions are expressed through a series of intertwined signals. You become more empathetic, more present, and more attuned to the subtle rhythms of human interaction. This awareness is not about manipulation, it's about understanding, presence, and responsiveness. It allows you to engage with authenticity, to honor the signals she's giving, and to build connection based on insight, attentiveness, and respect. Observing patterns and clusters is also deeply empowering because it reminds you that attraction is a conversation, not a performance. It's a dialogue expressed through micro moments, repeated gestures, and layered signals. When you tune into these patterns, you gain clarity and insight, and you're able to navigate connection with awareness, emotional intelligence, and confidence. Awareness of subtle cues builds confidence and deepens connection. And this is one of the most transformative skills you can cultivate in any relationship. When you begin to notice the small, almost imperceptible gestures, the way someone tilts their head, the brush of a hand along the neck, the slight shift in posture toward you, you start to see the authentic signals of attraction that are often invisible to the casual observer. This awareness isn't about overanalyzing or trying to control the interaction. It's about presence, mindfulness, and being attuned to the energy between two people. When you notice these cues, you begin to trust what your senses are telling you, and that trust becomes a foundation for confidence. Confidence and connection doesn't come from trying harder, saying the perfect words, or performing a role. It comes from understanding what is happening beneath the surface, from observing the subtle signs that someone is genuinely interested, engaged, or drawn to you. When you see a woman touching her neck while maintaining eye contact or leaning in slightly during conversation, it's an invitation to be present, to recognize that there is a resonance, a spark that can be nurtured. Awareness of these cues allows you to relax into the interaction, to respond authentically, and to engage with emotional intelligence rather than anxiety or uncertainty. This kind of awareness also deepens connection because it opens the door to empathy. When you notice the small signals of attraction, you are witnessing vulnerability in another person. You are seeing their body reveal what their words may not express, and that requires a gentle, observant, and respectful presence. Being attuned to these cues allows you to honor the subtle ways someone shows interest, and in doing so, you communicate your own attentiveness and care. Connection grows when both people feel seen, understood, and recognized on a level that goes beyond words, and noticing these subtle gestures is the gateway to that deeper emotional intimacy. Confidence and connection are mutually reinforcing. As you become more aware of the cues that indicate attraction, your confidence grows because you are no longer guessing or second guessing. You start to trust your instincts, your perception, and your understanding of human behavior. That trust translates into your presence, into the way you hold yourself, the way you respond, and the way you communicate. And when confidence is present, connection naturally deepens because authenticity and self-assuredness are magnetic qualities that invite openness and engagement from the other person. Awareness of subtle cues allows you to step into that confidence without arrogance, to move in the interaction with ease, and to nurture a space where real connection can flourish. Part of building this awareness is learning patience and observation. Subtle cues are rarely dramatic or immediate, they unfold over time. A single touch of the neck, a fleeting smile, a brief glance. These moments may seem small, but when you notice them in sequence, patterns emerge. Recognizing these patterns requires mindfulness and intentional presence, but the rewards are profound. You gain insight into the other person's emotional state, their comfort level, and their genuine interest. And that insight empowers you to engage more authentically. This is the kind of confidence that isn't forced or performative, but arises naturally from understanding and awareness. Another layer of awareness comes from understanding context. The same gesture can mean different things in different situations, and being attuned to the environment, mood, and dynamics allows you to interpret cues more accurately. When you see her touch her neck while laughing with ease, leaning forward in engagement, and making subtle physical gestures toward you, the cluster of cues is powerful. Awareness allows you to distinguish between fleeting, random movements and genuine signals of attraction, and that clarity is what builds self-assuredness. It's about reading the situation holistically, noticing the combination of gestures, tone, and presence, and responding with authenticity rather than assumption. Deepening connection also comes from responding in alignment with what you observe. Awareness without action can leave energy stagnant, but when you tune into subtle cues and respond with empathy, attentiveness, and authenticity, you create a flow of interaction that feels natural and meaningful. You validate the other person's signals, meet their energy, and allow the connection to grow without forcing it. This kind of engagement is magnetic because it communicates presence, understanding, and respect. It shows that you are not just seeing the surface, but noticing the deeper rhythms of attraction and interaction, and responding in a way that honors both people's emotional experience. Ultimately, awareness of subtle cues transforms the way you experience relationships. It shifts your focus from anxiety, overthinking, or performance to presence, observation, and emotional attunement. It builds confidence because you are able to trust what you see and feel. It deepens connection because you are able to respond authentically to vulnerability and interest. And it cultivates a sense of clarity and understanding in interactions, allowing attraction and emotional resonance to unfold naturally, and beautifully. True attraction is revealed in quiet, subconscious moments, not grand gestures, and understanding this completely changes the way you perceive connection. Society often teaches us to look for obvious signs, bold words, dramatic actions, or overt displays of interest, but attraction rarely works that way. It is subtle, delicate, and often communicated through gestures that are so unconscious, so natural, that they almost feel invisible. These small moments carry immense emotional weight because they come from a place beyond deliberate thought. They are instinctive, biological, and deeply human, and they tell the real story of how someone feels without requiring any verbal explanation. Think about the micro moments in everyday interactions. A soft smile that lingers just a fraction longer than usual, a slight tilt of the head, the brush of a hand along a neck or collarbone, or a subtle shift in posture toward another person. These are all forms of communication that speak volumes. They are not planned, performed, or manipulated. They are natural expressions of attraction that happen when someone feels drawn to another person. Because they are subconscious, they are authentic. They bypass the filters of social expectations, self-consciousness, and overthinking, revealing truth in its purest form. Subconscious moments are powerful because they reveal vulnerability. When someone unconsciously leans in, touches their neck, or mirrors your movements, they are letting their guard down, even if just slightly. They are exposing part of themselves that they may not have intended to reveal, and in doing so, they are communicating interest and connection in a way that is genuine and compelling. This is why these quiet signals are so important. They offer insight into emotions that words often fail to capture. They tell you what someone is truly feeling, beyond what they say and beyond what they might consciously want you to know. These moments are often fleeting, so noticing them requires presence. It's about slowing down, tuning in, and observing the subtleties of human behavior. When you are fully present, you begin to see the patterns that repeat across interactions, the small cues that occur in conjunction with smiles, laughter, eye contact, and body orientation. You start to notice when someone's attention is genuinely engaged versus distracted, when their energy aligns with yours versus being elsewhere. This awareness allows you to interpret attraction more accurately and to respond in a way that is aligned with authenticity rather than assumption. What makes subconscious attraction so fascinating is how universally human it is. Across cultures, ages, and personalities, these small gestures of interest remain consistent. A touch of the neck, a softening of the eyes, a forward lean in conversation. These are almost instinctual, primal signals that indicate emotional and physical interest. They emerge from deep within the nervous system and the emotional center of the brain, beyond the control of conscious thought. And because they are so difficult to fake, they are among the most reliable indicators of genuine attraction. Recognizing and understanding these moments gives you a powerful advantage in connection, because you are learning to see authenticity in action. These quiet moments also teach patience. Attraction does not always manifest as immediate, overt signals. It often develops subtly in layers, through repeated small gestures that collectively tell a story. When you notice and honor these moments, you are acknowledging the depth of human emotion and the complexity of desire. You are learning to see the full spectrum of connection, from the tiny sparks to the larger patterns of engagement. This patience and observation create a space for attraction to flourish naturally, without forcing or rushing the process. The beauty of subconscious cues is that they invite reciprocity. When someone unconsciously shows interest, it provides an opportunity to respond with your own authenticity, attentiveness, and emotional presence. You don't need to overperform or create signals artificially. You simply meet the energy they are offering and allow the interaction to flow. This creates a dynamic of mutual awareness and connection that is rare and magnetic. It shows respect for the subtle language of attraction and honors the vulnerability being expressed, even if it is silent and subconscious. Ultimately, noticing the quiet, subconscious moments is about understanding the depth of human communication. It is about seeing beyond the surface, beyond the words, and tuning into the energy, emotion, and instinct that drive human connection. These are the moments where attraction truly reveals itself, where interest, desire, and engagement are expressed in ways that are undeniable and authentic. Recognizing these signals allows you to approach relationships with clarity, empathy, and confidence, because you are learning to respond to truth rather than assumption, to authenticity rather than performance, and to connection rather than superficiality.